touch tool to check the wiring.
Yeah, you don't have to check the wiring. The wiring should be fine.
So speaking of things of convenience, I've been operating CW. I've been doing CW ops at W0CXX. And one of the things that would really be handy about one of these things is that it was in this month's QST. It's more ready. So there's a version that's a CW version and another version that's that's a ready version. But I've got the CW version built, and you just plug it into your computer, your iambic here, and it's like that W1EL thing where it interfaces with either N1MM, TR4W, N3FJP, but it's a really cool interface. So you can do the speed control and the logging and everything all on the computer, and you don't have to mess with iambic. But it's a really clean interface, and I just plug it into like the Ten-Tech Orion and CW mode, and it auto keys really nice. So. $18 for the kit. It's I would highly recommend the club buy a couple, for the stations.
Cool, that's a good idea. Any more comments or suggestions?
I think Alan's right. It hasn't been on the air for at least 2 weeks.
What's that?
Whisper hasn't been on for 2 weeks.
Oh,
Okay. Well, we'll have to get with the people to get that going. More comments?
The medical response team is needed at building 192, column E is in Echo 7.
You want to trade?
Your attention, please. The medical response team is needed at building 192, column E is in Echo 7.
You want to go run slides?
Attention.
Sure.
Your
After we're
attention,
done.
please. The medical response team is needed at building 192, column E is in Echo 7.
Come on up. Okay. Sounded like feedback.
instead of the mic.
It's the override.
Okay, that's on. Mute is that way. Unmute is that way. Okay?
Okay. You got it.
It's muted right now, so you want to unmute it? Just,
Sure.
and until we can't handle it anymore, and you don't want to set it down. So, like I said earlier, this whole evening is brought to you by the Caldwell Clan. Is it working? You can hear me, right? Yeah. So, well, maybe I shouldn't stand right here. So we went to, we take vacation, once in a while. And last year, we had a chance. And this is called the North Shore 10 gigahertz row. And it's something to do with your spouse. So next chart. So I met Dave Sumner at a W1ZZ at a Central States conference in Chicago. And during the family program opening dinner, he commented about how his wife really enjoyed working the 10 gigahertz contest. And it's like, he got his wife to do something in radio. I thought, that's a pretty cool thing. And over the years with roving, my wife says, well, you guys drive by the Mall of America. You could just drop me off there and come back and pick me up. It's like, no, that doesn't gonna work. But anyway, I thought, I just kind of remember that. Next chart. So our vacation to the North Shore was inspired by Greg Aiello. And he's a guy that goes out, and he's got a great way. He can go out in the wild, and he holds a camera out here, and he talks to you with the camera, and if he wants to show you stuff, he just goes like this. He's always talking and always moving the camera. He does have a video team that goes with him sometimes, but sometimes it's just him and that camera. But anyway, next chart. We've done 3 adventures inspired by him. One I was going down to Hot Springs, Arkansas, and he showed us some ways that we can enjoy hot springs that we just hadn't considered before. And down in our neighborhood, he talked about Lake Wachita, and that was a neat. We didn't get on the lake, but driving around the lake, we found a really neat historical site, another hot spring site right there by the lake. But Greg went up and started talking about having fun on Minnesota's North Shore, and I really don't think of Minnesota as being a mountainous state, but holy cow, that is pretty rugged country up there. And I think I've changed my mind. So we were going to spend 3 weeks up there, and at the Central States Conference, the Northern Lights group was talking about doing 10 gigahertz operation on the North Shore. And I thought, that'll work. And I was talking about that, and the next thing I know, Wyatt says, I'll loan you my 10 gigahertz station. So we go to the flea market that night, and in comes Bruce and his wife Janice. It's your turn.
Okay, so Janice invited me to come along for the 10 gig, and sounded like fun. They are pretty intense contesters, but not like the exposure I'd had to contesters before. Rows scare me off because the people I know that row around here are pretty intense. But this was going to be a spouse-friendly event, and ended up, including myself, there was 3 spouses, total of 14 people, and I know that makes about 7 vehicles. And we had a lot of fun.
So go back. So keep in mind that right there, they've got his and her 10 gigahertz stations. Okay, so just remember that. So go on. So she says, okay, we'll give it a try. And you know, if it's not fun, then I can quilt. Okay, that's fine. So we're thumbs up, ready to go. Next chart. So this is how I normally roll with Rod. In fact, Rod is operating, and this is up in Minnesota, but my introduction to 10 gigahertz operation came when I was taking this very lash up out roving, and Greg Lind was going to jump in with me, and he says, I want to take a 10 gigahertz station with us. And so he throws it in, and it's like, okay, and our indoors, we kind of forgot when he did that to on the power poles to put the little pin in that makes them stay connected, and our charging system became disconnected, and it ran down the batteries after a while. So but we figured it out eventually. But anyway, next chart. Well, anyway, no, go back. So the thing about this though is we were staying local, because the next day, this was in the UHF contest, and we were going to stay local and go to the Hamfest the next day. So up on the high bands, on 2304 and on 1296 from Newhall, I was working CW to make contacts with the folks up by Rochester, Minnesota. And Greg pulls out this dish, and he sets it up, and he's making sideband contacts. And it's like, how can that be? I mean, 10 gigahertz is a pretty magic band. Next chart. So here we are at this is at Rochester, Minnesota, at the Central States contest, just before the other picture was taken, maybe. And that's Al Ward, and he's kind of he's a real Earth, Moon, Earth guru. And so he's running 10 gigahertz. That dish, instead of being one of these dishes, that's about 1 meter across. And he's running, instead of 3 watts here, and I think, Greg, you've got 8 watts over there now. Yeah. He's running 30 watts, and he's running Joe Taylor's software, and he's making contacts off the moon. And 10 gigahertz is an amazing band. It really is.
So he's making contacts with 30 watts and just that dish off the moon.
Right.
with the JT65.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. We had just made our first 6-meter contacts out there, and so I kind of understood what things looked like. But the thing that was really cool, on 6 meters, when you're seeing on the band scope, you're seeing just this little thin line of perfectly straight line of pixels. But on 10 gigahertz, it's noisy and fat. I mean, 10 gigahertz EME is the EME for old people. It really is. You can see. So anyway, and by the way, that rover is about somewhere, I think it's that pile of antennas right there is our rover setup. Next chart. So the 10 gigahertz operation, basically it was set up and there were 4 teams. We had 1 team up in Canada, and we had 2 teams in Michigan. And the way they operated was they had Team A here and Team B here on Saturday, and then on Sunday they flopped, okay? And what that meant was that we could go up the shore from Duluth up to Grand Portage, which is like 4 miles from Canada, and on Saturday, and then on Sunday when they flopped and we went back the other way, there were all new contacts for us. So that was a pretty cool thing. Next chart. So we're using tropoducting, and unfortunately this picture was taken after the contest. But what you're trying to get into, you can kind of see right here, there are these islands out here, and you can kind of see this line of light, and that's the thin layer that makes the duct. And you're trying to get in between that top layer and the water and make the contacts go a long distance. So keys to that is you're trying to be under. So ideally you want to be close to the water, but we made some contacts where we were quite a ways above the water too.
Well, but we also had problems getting,
Mike?
sorry, we had problems getting the ducting because there was a massive forest fire up in Quebec, Ontario. And that weekend, we even had trouble seeing these islands